What's up, everyone? Welcome to the next episode of the Stances Everything Project Where I Wait 51 GMC project, and I am going to be filming today what will be either the first or the second video where I'm actually working on camera. I filmed another one. I don't know if I'm really going to like it, so I'm going to film this one too, and we'll see which one ends up better. So what I'm doing now is finishing up the inner fenders. So here is where my shock mount comes through, so I got to finish notching this out, clean it up a little bit from where I did it crudely before, and this is actually where my core support mount kind of goes through, and I have a little bit of cuts here because I ended up putting this on a G-body chassis and it doesn't clear. So I've also got a few spots where I filled some holes. I'm going to fill this hole. I'm probably going to have to make a filler for that, so I'll see if I do something cool for that. Maybe knock these down a little bit. So there's just a bunch of here's and there's to do on this panel. Anything that I think is cool enough to show you guys how I do it, I will film myself doing it, and anything else I'll just kind of gloss over and we'll be done like on TV. It's time for me to get to work, so I'll put this camera somewhere and you'll see some sparks in a few minutes. So I've been working on my inner fender, and I have cleaned this up, cut up a little bit, cleaned this, cut up a lot, and now I'm sort of left with a couple of holes. As you can see, I've been filling this hole, this hole, this hole. I've got this one to fill, this one to fill, and I've got this one to fill. Unfortunately, I can't MIG this with nothing in there. So what I often do in these situations is try and find something that'll fit. This washer looks like it'll actually fit in there, and then I can actually MIG this hole in, no problem. So what I'm going to do is, as you saw before, I had the step bit in there. I'm going to hog this out with the step bit a little bit until this fits in nicely. I'll clean up this washer, magnet it from the back, and then I'll weld it in. Okay, so what I've done now is I've cleaned this up a little bit on the grinder over there to get rid of any sort of coating we could have on it that's just hazardous to breathe. I've jammed it in there, and I am going to do a few tacks and then fill this hole in. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone through and filled in a couple of these holes with my MIG welder. Where the washer was, that's filled in, as well as the center's filled in. I have a little bit more material to add in here just to keep it nice and even. This one filled in just fine without any filler. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more of the weld and grind dance on this, and then I'll flip it over and show you what the other side looks like. On the back side of the fender, the process is pretty similar. I just welded around the washer where it was a little bit taller than the rest of the material. In the center here is where I've welded from the other side. I'm just going to go ahead and grind this down and clean it up. I'm trying to get something similar to this, and this, and this, and in here, so that when after I prime this, I can add some seam sealer to this place, all around this new piece of material, and just sort of everywhere that I've put some metal, just to make sure that no rust comes up and nothing comes up on the other side. But this one is coming along pretty well. I've gone ahead and ground down the back side of the weld here, so as you can see, this is nice and smoothed out. I didn't go too crazy because this is going to be the back side of the fender after all, and this is going to be covered in undercoating. But I did want to get it nice and smoothed down to see if I had any pinholes, so that when I go over it with the seam sealer, it's nice and buttoned up here. So this is all cleaned up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm probably going to touch a couple of these areas that a little bit of surface rust has formed on, and then I'm going to hit this with some primer because the body shop has asked for this just to be hit with some primer so they can work on the other side, and they didn't want me to undercoat it just so the tape would stick to this so they can mask things off, but I'm pretty stoked to get this onto the next stage. I'm back again. A couple days have passed. Obviously I'm not in my shop clothes. There's a good reason for that. I'm going to be dropping these inner fenders off at the body shop, where the body shop is going to probably prime this again, even though I did put some primer on it. They did ask me to prime it sort of before it arrived so they could see what they were dealing with, and then we're going to run some seam sealer all around where these new bits of metal have been put in and where I filled some stuff. And then what's going to happen is the body shop is going to spend a lot more time sort of on the outside of the fender, or rather the inside of the fender, what you're going to see in the engine bay, and this is all going to be white. So all these areas where I shaved, they're going to get smoothed over with some filler and a little bit of finesse, and then we will be moving on to the next stage. So I'm super excited for that to happen. I might bring my camera with me, see if I can get some teaser shots. But I'm excited for the next step, and hopefully you like this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.